Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 20 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss best practices with data center and cloud optimization strategies in the federal government. With me on today's show are Robert Costello, Chief Information Officer and Associate Director of Mission Engineering at CISA, Commander Jonathan White, Cloud and Data Branch Chiefs, C5I Service Center, U.S. Coast Guard. Richard Insunza, Cloud Broker, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Jim Viazda, Vice President, Public Sector at Equinix. And Scott Keenan, Managing Director, Public Sector Capture at Verizon Business. Bob, let's start with you and start from the top. You've been over there for, gosh, about 4 years. I know it takes a lot. You got to undo before you can redo. And I know you've been working both sides of that. And I think you're in the do part now, so to speak. And why don't you give us a top line as to what's going on over there and what's this new responsibility you've now taken on?
Sure thing, Luke. It's good to be here today with all of you. So yes, it is officially 4 years in August. So it's been
Yeah.
quite an adventure. Where we're at right now, we've finished a lot of the work that we started the first year. I concentrated on building the right team, certain hiring actions, getting the right technical folks in, and the program managers. Years 2 and 3, we built our new environments that CISA has now fully migrated to. So we have our own unclassified operating environments now, and we did things very different. When I first got here, there was not a lot of the functional elements that the other DHS components had. We didn't have a security operations center or other things. Now we have a fully fledged security operations center that's modeled more on the commercial sector vice typical government SOCs, because we didn't have a lot of that kind of the baggage from the way things were done before. So we have a lot of automation. We're pushing forward really hard on artificial intelligence, machine learning, in our security operations. And then we kind of worked really hard to build something different. So, we're officially Active Directory free in our new operating environment, which is pretty cool. There's no hybrid, there's no legacy domain controllers, there's nothing. We built a new pure environment that we migrated to. And really, where I'm concentrating now, back in February, we had been running some of our cyber engineering functions separate from the CIO's office. So we spent the last kind of three years unifying under the CIO, all the other IT. We made a decision back in February that we're going to unify everything and operate like the rest of the department. So I oversee that now, and those are some very large programs that we run for analytic systems, defense of the federal civilian executive branch, and what we're really charging hard on that. I'm very big on we should not be spending all our money on program management. How do we drive more of those dollars into delivery, capacity building, and execution? So we've made some real decisions that we can talk about now on deprecating legacy technologies, getting out of some of our legacy environments, including on-premise, and then just a deeper relationship with our operators and threat hunting, capacity building, the Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative, and vulnerability management. So that's kind of where we are right now.
A lot of cleanup that went on over there, and hats off to you and your team for really plowing through and getting yourself into a fully optimized environment there. Commander, I cannot wait to hear sort of the top line from the Coast Guard. And one of the things I want to just ask you to point out is people always ask about, are they in Homeland Security? Are they in the Department of Defense, the .mil? How does that work? That type of thing. So maybe a 101 on that as well, I think would help folks as you describe sort of where you are in this whole journey to optimize your cloud environment.
Absolutely, Luke. Thank you for having me on here. It's a pleasure. I'm happy to come back on the speaking circuit again. And I think as I bring vendors in and I talk to them constantly, I bring hundreds of vendors in a year. It's exciting. I talk to many people. The first thing I always start off with is, hey, I have a foot planted in DoD and a foot planted in DHS. We follow both paradigms. We have two different ways of looking at problems. So problems could be a defense-oriented problem or a defense sharing problem, or a problem could be law enforcement-oriented, Title 14 type activities. We also have a active intelligence community, which bridges the two together as well. So it's really exciting to do IT in that space. We comply with DoD cybersecurity regulations. So we're 100% DoD there, but our data privacy and our FISMA reporting is over on the DHS side. And so we've created that boundary. We were operating that space for many years. I believe we started that with a strong dedication there on 2014, 2015 timeframe. What gets really interesting, especially in my space, is in cloud. So the DoD has very different cloud rules than DHS. We have impact levels versus FedRAMP levels, and finding the happy medium between those two has been a real struggle for us for the last couple of years. We have definitely built out the skill set to talk to those problems and have a really strong conversation with vendors. We know what solutions work and what solutions will not work in that environment. And so that's been a prime focus for us, especially in this last year as we're building out our cloud capabilities, bringing in dozens of customers and helping them through their migration journey.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of moving parts, and it seems like you've found a healthy balance as to what goes in the DOT bucket versus what goes in the DHS bucket. So hats off there. Richard, I know once upon a time there was a former Marine over there that told you all to take the hill as far as the cloud, and you all did. And then I think you had to come back in there and maybe clean up on aisle 9 a little bit here and there, and you're now sort of up the value chain. So tell us about what the cloud broker responsibility is and where you all are as far as top line state of the state in the cloud play.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. And yeah, you're right. There's plenty to clean up on aisle 9. So once we migrated from the cloud environment, from the data centers to the cloud environment, it really was a struggle, a cultural change for a lot of the application teams and application owners to adjust to how we do business in the cloud. And for us folks, for the brokerage that provides all of the cloud services to our customers in a secure fashion, putting up the guardrails, making sure that we're maintaining some security and control over those resources that are being provisioned. It was also a learning experience. What we've really kind of learned is until we get our users up to speed on how virtualization works and how cloud resources work, we're always going to have a little bit of a struggle making sure that they're doing things in an optimized or efficient fashion. So we focused a lot of training and small programs to keep application teams on point with new technologies, how they should be designing and architecting their solutions, how they should be using the resources and the tools that we're providing from the brokerage out to them so that they can be more efficient as we continue this journey of adopting cloud technologies and new technologies that are offered by those providers. So it's been a very interesting trip. One of the other things that we've really kind of had to do is reevaluate where we started, and every few years we have to say, hey, are we really doing things right? And where can we improve? And where can we course correct with regard to how the cloud service providers are offering their services and how we provide them back to our customers? So several times we've had to kind of look at our tagging strategy. We've had to look at automation and ways to improve or adjust how we offer those types of services. So definitely still cleaning up on aisle 9, and we're going to go to the other aisles here in the very near future.
And hats off, that former Marine I was referring to is Miss Beth Capello. deputy CIO over at ICE and then deputy CIO at DHS, and she didn't play. It was, here's the top of the hill, here's the North Star, go get it. And
She
you
was the
guys have done
driving force.
yeah, you all have done a masterful job, record time to get into the cloud. And yeah, things evolve over time. You have to keep reevaluating it, and that's just a fact. So we get it. Jim, how about over at Equinix? You all are in a situation there where you entered into the scene, you were able to sort of glue things together at a lower level. You all have certainly raised up over the value chain, up into these more interesting areas and really become a force multiplier for a lot of these entities. Give us a sort of a top line as to where you see things these days.
Sure. So, thank you for the time, Luke. And, we're seeing really significant progress across the agencies that we work with and leveraging technology to improve not only performance, but help to drive innovation. We worked with an agency that had a global mission, right? That they needed to be able to dynamically expand their presence to support that mission globally. And we helped them develop a strategy to distribute their data and their workloads where they were most effective, right? So closer to clouds, the regions of the world that they operated in, and their end users. And they essentially created this agile network of distributed interconnection hubs that deliver data over the shortest possible path while minimizing latency and making much more efficient use of network bandwidth. And what they saw was better performance, reduced complexity, and in the process they saved a couple bucks. In another example, we worked with an agency whose IT infrastructure was very siloed, right, with applications hosted across multiple cloud providers and on-premises data centers. And this fragmented setup really created challenges with interagency collaboration, operational efficiency, and even CoupDR. So we worked with them on a hybrid multi-cloud solution and were able to deliver kind of secure, low latency interconnection between multiple clouds and their on-premises data centers, as well as some key edge locations. And really, in the end, what we're seeing is agencies really benefit from kind of this cloud to cloud direct connectivity, eliminating the need for traffic to hairpin through centralized data centers. And this is resulting in reduced latency and improved performance. So it's a really exciting time to be part of this community and see what agencies are doing in the space.
Hats off for you all for providing that we'll call it plumbing, much more sophisticated than that, to allow these agencies to have high-speed, low-latency environments and a secure environment. Scott, you all are coupled very closely with Equinix, along with all these other agencies out there. Can you give us a top line as to, where is Verizon focusing its attention right now as far as what do you see across the ecosystem?
Yeah, no, first, thanks for having me. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here. I think from a Verizon perspective, we're kind of continuously seeking solutions that really enhance, customer experience, but really kind of drive towards, their ability to meet, mission needs, mission goals, et cetera. And I think from our standpoint recently, cloud optimization has really become kind of front and center. How do we help our customers, really kind of create those cost efficiencies that come with, the benefits of cloud, the ability to scale and meet resiliency needs, particularly given the operating environments that some of our federal customers work within. And so kind of meeting these requirements, Verizon recently launched our government cloud with the FedRAMP High Ready SD-WAN as its anchor SaaS solution to help meet those needs. And that's been kind of a big push for us. We're working with two customers now going through the accreditation process and really kind of excited to see kind of where that enables them to go, across their journey to, reduce technical debt and achieve those cost efficiencies.
Is there a timeline on that? I'm just curious because I know the audience will be interested in that.
Yeah, no, great question. So we're FedRAMP ready right now. We're on the marketplace for FedRAMP High. We're going through the accreditation process. Right now, we're working with a couple agencies on
Mhm.
sponsorship, and looking towards that second quarter of 2026. For ultimately for ATO to be delivered. That's currently the estimated timeline right now.
Okay, so before we're raking leaves in the lawn, so to speak.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
All right, sounds good. All right, let me jump over to Rick and talk about a specific program. You had a lot of stuff going on over there. You raised an interesting point about, hey, we put this stuff in, and then we have to relook at the way we're doing it. Maybe there's some new instrumentation that's available. Perhaps there's some other capability that the cloud providers are making available that you want to assess. So. Just want to talk about a specific program that you'd like to highlight, a specific area as you all went on this journey that you'd like to sort of illuminate for our listening audience.
I would say that when we got set up in the cloud, um, the biggest problem that we had were these resources that were misconfigured, that were left out there, and our ability to track what these teams were doing. Um, you know, one of the big pushes that we have here is to provide application teams some autonomy to be able to innovate and deliver the solutions they believe are right for their customers. And and they're not always forthcoming about what they're doing. And so being able to track what they're doing, or when they've turned a server on and they're no longer using it, or when they've terminated a server but they didn't uh, delete the EBS volumes that were attached to it, things of that nature, right? Um, we developed a strategy, a program for tagging. Tagging can be such a powerful tool in the cloud environment. It allows you to do automation and track and report and do so many different things if you've got the right plan for how you're going to use that metadata that you're attaching to each resource. So we started tagging everything, right? We said, hey, you got to tag it. If if you want to be able to provision something, you need a billing code. We need to know who the resource belongs to. We need to know the name of the application that this resource is supporting, and many other things. Tagging has become a very critical part of how we govern the whole cloud environment, and we're continuing to learn a lot more. Another thing that we've learned is, these development teams, at 5 o'clock, they check out, right? And they shut the door, they leave the light on, they leave the servers on, they leave everything running, but nobody's using the resource. So with tags, one of the things that we did was we created a program or a policy for the teams to be able to automatically turn off their resources at 5 o'clock in the evening, and then have it automatically turn back on at 7. And that saves us 10, 12 hours of consumption for those resources. Multiply that by thousands, pretty soon you start to see a significant savings, an area where you can reduce your overall cost, save their customers money, and save the agency some money as well. So that's an area that we're really focused on improving and taking advantage of.
Really do appreciate that, and I know that resonated very well. Saw a lot of heads nodding there. So appreciate you pointing that out, and interesting element for those that are on this journey. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about data center and cloud optimization, talking specifically about, well, specific examples. Jim, let's hear from you at Equinix. You top-lined a lot of things there. You want to give us a specific example that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one that comes to mind is an agency that we work with that faced significant challenges with their legacy infrastructure. Their on-premises data centers were struggling to meet the demands of numerous applications. So we worked with them to design and implement a comprehensive data center and cloud optimization strategy that included moving some of their critical workloads to highly secure co-location facilities. They then interconnected their data center with multiple cloud providers,
Mm.
enabling kind of seamless connection to multiple CSPs, and that gave them the ability to continue to control their sensitive data. And this hybrid multi-cloud approach, it allowed them to scale resources dynamically based on whatever the mission needs were. And I think the end result was that they successfully grew their digital capabilities to help keep pace with the rapidly evolving mission, to help better support their end users. So it was a pretty cool use case, and I think a great example of partnership and collaboration between industry and the government.
A very important use case and one that is made to order for Equinix. So appreciate you pointing that out. Glad it was successful. Robert Costello, if you could give us a specific example, but before you do that, we need to understand what the Director of Mission Engineering does. What is that? What is that additional responsibility? I don't think we got to that.
Yeah, so it's part of the cybersecurity directorate, and the responsibilities are to build, operate, and enable the cyber mission through technology. So the National Cyber Protection System, which is something everyone's probably familiar with, or the Einstein program, that falls under me now to operate and make that data available. The next generation services, the comprehensive log aggregation warehouse, which is our CLAW, we abbreviate it CLAW because it sounds cool. That's how departments and agencies send us their cloud telemetry and logging. We have the cyber analytics platform, which is a level 1 program here at the department that we operate and design. And that's enabling, we collect all this data. How do we ensure that it's available to the operators here? It says of the threat hunters. How do we integrate all that great telemetry that vulnerability management collects from the federal civilian executive branch under Sci-Hi and other programs and start integrating it? So one of the things that my role really is now is stitching together all our data and making sure that our users aren't pivoting between 8 different networks to access that data. And when I first got here, it says that was very, very typical. The systems didn't talk to each other. You had at least 4 to 5 different unclassified systems that a threat hunter would actually pivot to a different workstation to get access to. Through Sysinet, that's all getting consolidated. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, everything blends together. We migrated over 100 applications from a legacy environment to the new Sysinet environment, and they are now working off one unified platform, which is really a big deal.
Hats off for you to be able to sort of clean up that environment or redo it, get yourself in a position.
It's all my team.
Where, right now you're pulling in all of this capability and really taking it to a new level. And it's really fascinating to watch, and very sophisticated environments over there. So hats off to all of you and what you're doing over there. Scott, how about at Verizon? Let's talk about a specific program that you'd like to highlight.
Well, I think I think just in terms of my involvement, right, and kind of what Verizon's doing at large, I think that, I think the last 18 months has really been centered around, getting our GovCloud platform, up and running and, through the GSA FedRAMP PMO's office onto the marketplace. in a ready state, right, for both the platform, as a service, as well as SD-WAN, which is, as I mentioned, is the anchor, the anchor product offering on the cloud, kind of the first out of the chute for us today, and kind of working through that, that ATO sponsorship process. Working with some various customers that we have to, to not only, kind of, walk down that sponsorship journey with them and kind of kick off that process. But then also really kind of highlight and demonstrate, for them, what it means and the benefits to going to, not only bringing SD-WAN into their, environments, but, also to be able to do it, in a, as a managed service, and leveraging cloud to do so. So, I think that's been really kind of the prime focus for us, whether that's helping customers, transition from, on-prem environments to a managed service, or helping customers really, alleviate some of their technical debt, whether that's, migrating away from, legacy technologies, and then ultimately, being able to, bring in cloud capabilities for the efficiencies that it offers, SD-WAN, for, some of the networking flexibilities, and being able to drive those benefits in customer organizations, particularly some of the smaller agencies and customers, that don't have, that are under tremendous budget pressure right now. We see a lot of value there, and that's kind of what we've been really kind of focused on. I would anticipate being able to share some further updates once, kind of the ATO, is officially granted. But, I think it's fair to say that, our ability to deliver, and I think, all of the, partners in our, portfolio that's offering an ability to deliver kind of those secure and compliant services, to federal agencies, I think, in a managed service, in a managed way, has really been an enabler so far. And we've seen a lot of traction to be able to, help customers and CIOs do more with less, particularly in today's environment.
Yeah, I think what's really important, and we really do appreciate the fact that you talked about the small agencies and being able to provide this highly sophisticated capability and a real narrow sort of a la carte or by the drink kind of capability is super important for those folks to have that ability to acquire things in that way. Commander White, we've got a lot of moving parts going on over there. You want to give us an example of a specific area that you all have been concentrating on and like to highlight that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to focus on my team's work because they have been absolutely incredible. We've spent the last 3 years building a bespoke, brand new cloud environment for the Coast Guard. We started with almost nothing, and they have created an enterprise, which is awesome. It is awesome. And very specifically in that, we have several lines of effort. So we have a cloud brokerage. We focus on customer enablement, focus on migration services. We focus on FinOps. So the tagging strategy speaks to me. We published a tagging standard and a naming standard, putting in those core services that allow us to observe the cloud, observe what's running in there, and provide feedback on spend to our customers. In fact, the EBS volumes, that rings true. On a monthly basis, I go in and look and say, hey, you're running hot on your stale volumes here. And it's all for the good of the Coast Guard, right? And the good of the government, right? We want to preserve money and preserve spend, and having that visibility is absolutely crucial. The other trend that we've nailed is platform services. We went really hard on offering a new floor with which our development and mission enabling teams start from. And so that's delivering a comprehensive data fabric, which is called Surveyor. We have a software factory we call Herman. We have a couple low-code platforms in the mix, and we're working on right now delivering artificial intelligence as a service. And those form a ring around the core cloud capabilities. And so when a customer comes in, the migration conversation is not just, hey, give me a cloud account and let me deploy whatever I want in there. It's actually, how about let's look at the confluence of capabilities we have available to you and see how we can best meet your needs with what we already have invested in. And I'll say most of the problems that customers have are data problems. And so if you can solve your problem at the data layer, that eliminates a ton of activity. I know this has been a huge effort on CISA for cybersecurity awareness. That eliminates a ton of effort at the application tier, at the infrastructure tier. And honestly, all of this comes together trying to race towards the 2027 goal of zero trust architecture. And the faster we can get people on those new platforms in that new integrated environment with the zero trust gold seal of approval there that we've built it on, that will be a huge lift for us. So we're very focused on that as well as an enabling activity. So I thank my team for being incredibly diligent in the last 3 years and putting a lot into this movement.
Hats off for the laser focused effort there and trying to build those pieces and parts that come together and provide that type of capability. And we have the utmost confidence that you're going to meet that 2027 goal. Let's talk about priorities. Rick, I'm going to start with you. It makes my head spin just to think about the level of priorities going on over at good old Ground Zero ICE these days. Let's just talk 26, right? You got from here to the end of 26. It's right around the corner. Well, what are you guys sort of absolutely focusing the men and women on over there at ICE to get done in 26?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that we're very focused on, and I'm sure that many other folks on this call are experiencing similar things. But artificial intelligence at the department is a really big concern. How we're going to use it, how we're going to implement it, how we're going to make it available. So one of the things the brokerage is looking at is what are the proper guardrails and the framework that we need to put in place to make those services available to customers who want to start solutioning capabilities using those artificial intelligence services provided by cloud service providers. We want to be able to make it very easy for them to get access to that, but not to duplicate, copying down a large language model, 20 different times, or scanning models multiple times when it's really not necessary, right? There's a lot of opportunities to get additional charges placed against us if we're not being smart about how we make those services available to our customers. So that's definitely one area that we're focused on. Steve Hall is kind of acting as our AI lead, and he's developing software factory type templates so that teams who want to, start off with their prompt engineering and testing of their capabilities against these models are doing it in a consistent fashion. We're going to be working with his team to make sure that the resources we're making available for those folks are done in a consistent fashion. We're working with our own management to make sure they understand exactly what steps we're taking to implement the access to those types of tools, so that so everybody's kind of in the loop. Again, trying to make sure that everybody has at least a high level understanding of how things are working when it comes to AI. The second thing is, we've been in the cloud since 2016, and
Mm-hmm.
the tagging strategy for us has evolved. As I mentioned, every few years we take a step back and look and see if we're doing things right. One of the things that we really haven't done, as you mentioned about the cleanups, is we haven't done the best housekeeping and the enforcement that we do with tagging. I think we just need to really focus on cleaning it up, right? Tagging is a really high maintenance utility. That if you don't implement it right, which we didn't, we iterated that process over time, and what we have today works for us. But there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of information in the background that we need to clean up. And so there's going to be a focus on making sure that when we develop some kind of a compliance script, or we do enforcement, or provide automation through tagging, that it's very clear what we're doing, and users aren't getting confused about, the different tag values, or, hey, I put it this way and it's not working. Oh, you should have made it all uppercase, or you should have made it all lowercase, or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
so that's going to be
Sort
a big
of
focus.
yeah, sort of second level of cleanup there. So we really do appreciate the laser focus on those priorities. I
Yep.
appreciate that, Rick. Scott, number one priority for you all this year.
Geez, I think just in the most immediate thing this year is like I mentioned, really kind of focused on attaining ATO for our,
Yep.
for our SD-WAN solution. And I think, and ultimately really both, at the FedRAMP high level as well as the impact level 4, is really kind of the targets that we have for 2025 and heading into 2026. And then I think secondly, I think getting feedback, as we go through this journey from, our customers, particularly in the federal space, is key as we continue to kind of push towards, the network modernization across our key customer sets, right? And so, SD-WAN is our, is kind of the anchor product, the anchor SaaS, solution that we have, but really kind of the benefit for us, and where we see the benefit for the customer ultimately is really identifying what other capabilities are really, are really out there that we can help put into that FedRAMP High cloud, or IL4 cloud, that really is going to drive mission value for the customers. And I think that's really kind of where we are really kind of doubling down our efforts, because at the end of the day, I mean, bandwidth, data usage, mobility, needs across our customers continue to grow, and and we see cloud is really, the way to cloud-based solutions is really kind of the way to help them get there and achieve what they're trying to do.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about cloud and data center optimization, talking about priorities. Mr. Costello, top 2 priorities for you in 2026.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Luke. I think, number one, ensuring that CISA is the most effective it can be through, effective, efficient, and mission-ready information technology solutions. So that's my job, to get that done so that the operators can operate each and every day.
You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News
is always
Network.
Pushing forward, making sure that we're hardening our own terrain, setting a good example for the rest of the federal civilian executive branch agencies, and making sure that my organization is viewed as a good partner, both internally and externally.
A lot of agencies out there completely relying on you, along with the state and local. So appreciate that laser focus. Jim, number one priority for Equinix 2026.
Absolutely. So when working with agencies, I think the most important priority for us is to prioritize a hybrid and multi-cloud strategy. I think this approach really helps to provide some flexibility, scalability, and resiliency. And I think by leveraging both on-premises data centers as well as multiple cloud providers, we feel like agencies can optimize their workloads based on performance, cost, and compliance requirements. So I would say that's probably the most important priority for us in the near term.
Sounds like a good one, and certainly is a very important one. Commander, a lot of moving parts over there at the Coast Guard. Top 2 priorities for you must get done in 2026.
So as you know, the Coast Guard just received a historic funding investment of $25 billion for their.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. But with that also came something I was involved with personally, which is Force Design 2028, and really going after how we want to reform our service to not only execute that money, but come out of it a very, very lean and fighting force for the Coast Guard. So there's 4 campaigns. One of those was the technology campaign. Primary focus this year is ramping up and executing on those campaign promises. So that is, you may see this in the literature. Coastal Sentinel is our all-in wrapped up maritime domain surveillance and awareness capabilities. That's a lot of physical sensors, a lot of edge networking, a lot of data transport wrapped into enabling our mission owners all around the world to visualize that data and do their mission more effectively. Wrapping in there for artificial intelligence capabilities, using data as a strategic asset. Those are all key points that are in that strategy. So that's priority number 1. Priority 2, which is very much related to that, but I'm pulling it out as something very special, is application modernization. The Coast Guard has not invested in applications writ large for years. We have this opportunity to invest in a brand new portfolio for our team members, and it's a great time to invest in that. We have so many options to deliver software as a mission enabling capability at the speed and scale that we've never seen before, because we don't have to own all of that underpinning architecture. We can build right on top of the low code platforms. We can build right on top of our software factory environment. And I am super excited about making those investments and delivering world-class software to not only ourselves, but also to the maritime community at large.
And hats off for you all, and it's perfect timing. So the convergence of funding and tectonic shift in this technology is going to allow you all to make some magic happen there. We really do appreciate it. All right, we're going to get to one of my favorite questions, and certainly a very important one. You all are at the vanguard of pushing the agenda on this cloud capability. Mr. Costello, I'm going to start with you, and it's lessons learned, right? As you can reflect back, give us your top lesson learned, and that you'd like to impart on the folks that are seeking to be where you are at this point, and learn from your experiences.
Oh, I don't know. Are we talking about technology or life, Luke?
We'll start with technology.
I think we had a really good discussion today on a lot of subjects, and I think for a lot of places, we're talking about hybrid, but a lot of places were doing that for a while. We never really, finished their cloud migrations, because I think sometimes we got directives maybe a decade ago, do this, and we found, wow, we just migrated to the cloud and it cost more. Application uptime went down because the apps weren't ready. They weren't designed with a modern architecture. And I think what I'm doing here, you have to take a look at your mission, what they support, and what makes sense. And I think we have some really great partnerships with co-location sites that are really helping me make better and smarter decisions. I like what Commander White said. I'm not going to concentrate on building infrastructure if I don't have to. There may be cases where we have to. The mission demands it. The marketplace or the commercial world just doesn't have it, because there's, we need to do it.
It's purpose built.
Purpose built. I think on my side, like the lessons learned is, I always kind of tell people, I don't remember who told me this or if I read it in a book, like, if you're doing good work, the next job will find you. And I think that right now, it's really concentrating on building that next generation. Like, I can't believe I've been at DHS, I don't know, 17, 18 years, a long time now. You were one of my first bosses when I was pretty low down in ISO CIO. I think what we're all concentrating on, at the federal level is, first, enabling the mission. I think we got some really clear and good direction on artificial intelligence. I think there's been a lot of good changes through the executive orders that allow us to move a lot faster on that activity. And I'm super excited for that. But then also, how do I train the next workforce? They didn't come up through the same environments I did. I had to learn scripting. I had to learn coding in a different way. I had to, they don't want to do that. They want to ask questions to, and natural language. And I need to enable that. So that's really where I'm concentrating on is, first and foremost, most effective mission possible through the services my office provides, and then getting the next generation ready. And that means on the technology front and how to do things, how to understand finance, contracting, acquisition, big A program management, those level 1 programs, all the things that people like you and others gave me the opportunity to learn.
Absolutely, and we really do appreciate that. Commander, top lesson learned for you that you'd like to impart onto this audience as you've gone on your journey and gotten to the Coast Guard to where they are today?
Absolutely. I think my top lesson learned is communication, and being in the forefront, being at the lead of a tech transformation. I often underestimate where the rest of the organization is mentally and technologically, right? Their understanding of technology. So where you can deploy your cloud environments, you can do your thing. Eventually, you're going to have to integrate the organization in with that flow, and being able to communicate a clear vision and do that very repeatedly and regularly is critical. And tagged into that is we underestimated how many people we needed to do this transformation. I think we could have we needed at least double, if not triple, the number of people. There's definitely a mountain that needs to be climbed to get to the other side. And that is a people-driven mountain, right? And as much as cloud and not owning a lot of infrastructure is an enabler, it's also an enabler of a lot of capability. And that capability requires architecture, thought, business process, evaluation, and that
security. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great points you make there, and we really do appreciate it. Mr. Nzunza, top lesson learned. I'm dying to hear this answer. You've really been in the thick of it there on a hell of a journey over the last few years. Reflecting back, what's that, that number one that you'd like to impart some wisdom on this audience?
Yeah. So, I think Bob kind of mentioned it in some of his statement there. Contracting, you're not getting anything done if you're not purchasing things. And one of the lessons that we've learned is that these contracts are generally, a base plus 4, and so we don't take the time to update the verbiage in the contract. People come to us and they say, "Oh, you know what? My contract doesn't include that in the scope. I can't support that." So we hit a roadblock and we can't move forward. And so I think the lesson learned that I have is, as a brokerage, part of my job is to develop language for other people's contracts so that they can input this verbiage there and they're covered when it comes to their team supporting their application in my cloud environment, right? That is, if I could help somebody, I think that's going to be a really big opportunity for everybody to suffer less because we didn't take the time to look at contract language. So I think that's a really good focus area, and that's what one of the many lessons that I've learned supporting adoption of cloud technologies.
It's a great catch, right? As you all are moving, at Mach 2, you've got to keep up in regards to modernizing those contracts, if you will, to keep up with those modern technologies that you're trying to acquire. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up, and we always like to wrap it up with a question about let's look forward 2 to 3 years from now. Scott, I'm going to start with you over there at Verizon. You all have stuff coming out of the lab petri dish, if you will. Let's fast forward 2 to 3 years from now. You've got this environment set up. It's going to be widely used. There's no question about that. We're 100% confident of that. So you now have a high offering. What do you imagine, or what's the demand signal for 2 to 3 years from now?
Well, I think the demand signal, right, I think is really kind of the, based on a lot of the atmospherics that I think we see across our customers, right? Budgets are coming down. I think now more than ever, CIOs are having to make, investment decisions, prioritizing resources, now more than ever, because, the budgets just, for many agencies aren't there like they used to be, or are projected to decline over the course of the next several years. So I think from our standpoint, I think that's really the key demand signal, and where can we as an organization really help partner with federal agencies, partner with Jim and his team and others in the federal space to really create that value and give CIOs the ability to help do the reprioritization that's needed, to really increase not only increase their technology, but their capability to drive their missions. And I think the only way to do that really is through some of the cloud optimization things that we've talked about here on this podcast, right? I mean, we have to be in a point, as a GovCon community, I think we have to be at a place where we build once and serve many to the greatest extent possible, and where the mission allows. And I think that's the only way that you're going to get to a point where each dollar that you spend on infrastructure really results in those decrease in sustainment dollars that are going to be critical to success going forward. And I think obviously the challenge there, right, is how you do it with the cybersecurity controls, the compliance needed to keep up with emerging threats. And I think that's really where we're seeing kind of this confluence of factors that really kind of signal to us that the ability to provide those managed services, the ability to provide SD-WAN, and the flexibility that provides through a cloud based environment, I think is a really compelling value proposition.
Really do appreciate that and look forward to that. Jim, Equinix, 2 to 3 years from now, what are you all going to be building, providing, solutioning for this community?
Sure. So my vision of kind of where we'll all be, or the utopia rather, is that we'll get to a place where agencies can easily and flexibly procure services, like what Rick mentioned. I think utilizing emerging technologies like Scott described, as well as leveraging interconnected cloud infrastructure, right, to meet the needs of the mission and deliver services. I think we're going to see emerging technologies continue to drive innovation. I think we're also going to see the proliferation of real-time and close to real-time services, right, which Equinix and Verizon will very much be a part of. And I think in general, we're going to see the need to do more and to do it faster, right, to keep pace, or really to outpace our adversaries and continue to deliver services. So I think that's what we're going to be faced with overcoming over the next kind of handful of years. And I think that we can get there. That's my vision.
Sounds super promising. We look forward to that. Rick, you all have a tremendous amount of requirements, direction being given by this current administration. You also just recently received an enormous amount of funds to fulfill those requirements. Let's fast forward 2 to 3 years from now. What's that environment going to look like? If I'm one of these agents, officers, freshly minted that just got hired, what's my environment going to look like 2 to 3 years from now? What's your anticipation there?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be quite a bit of cognitive services that are going to be used to help with translation, to help with processing, scheduling of elements related to the mission that we have here. I think that we're going to have a lot of improvements in mobility. I think that the phone and personal smaller devices are going to become critical in how officers perform their duties as we move forward. And I think that we're going to be, if I'm putting it on my cloud sextant, we're
Mhm.
going to be working very closely with the programs to provide better tools, AI-based tools for assessing, analyzing, and making recommendations on things that we should be doing and ways for us to improve our mission delivery.
And no doubt being able to do it in a much crisper, quicker fashion, right? I would imagine now that you've sort of optimized that environment. So hats off for all the work that you've done and all the work that you're going to be doing. Commander White, you talked about an environment out there that you're seeking to lay down. It's now, the end of 2027, 2028. What's that environment going to look like? What's your anticipation?
Yeah, so I think the future that I would love to see is seamless and continuous data sharing between agencies. I say that because when I think of the Coastal Sentinel type environment, if the Coast Guard just went out and bought its stuff, bought the sensors, put all this stuff together, we're missing partnerships, right? We're missing maybe potential areas that we could surveil and observe that CBP is at, or ICE is at, or even our DoD partners might be at. And I think we need to really start thinking, and if we zoom out at the government level and really start thinking, hey, we have, by the way, highly interconnected data centers that we're all putting our capabilities in. They can
You're
seamlessly
listening
share
to the
data
Federal
inside
Executive
that data
Forum
center between each other,
on
but we put
Federal News Network.
organizational walls between that. And I think what I really want to see in 2 to 3 years is that those walls start becoming thinner, maybe not evaporate, but they become much more transparent in the ability to have an all of government approach to problems. And if somebody's collecting data in some place, I'm able to use that over here, and vice versa. I can share my data to those agencies as well. And I think when you really do that at scale, you realize a huge amount of efficiency because not every agency has to go out and buy their own package to do something. And I think that's really where I want to see the future for cloud. And cloud is a number one enabler of that. Co-location facilities like Equinix is a number one enabler of that. That is a fundamental capability, and then we just build on top of that as a government, all of government approach.
Commander, you're sounding more and more like a departmental CTO every time I talk to you. So,
Working on it, sir.
and sort of thinking through these long range aspirations. So, hats off to you, and we look forward to that. Bob Costello, take us home 2 to 3 years from now. I know you've got a vision out there about what you want to see CISA looking like, and it's becoming a reality, let's face it, through the hard work of you and your team. What's it look like 2 to 3 years from now?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I think Rick and Commander White both kind of hammered home on it. Like one of the things we have to do in government, and there's an EO on it that's been extremely helpful, is break down those information silos. Why do I collect the same information as somebody else? Why can't I share that information if you have the right authorities to see that information? And I think that that's like super exciting. And some of us have been at the department for a long time, and we remember the days of we're all going to copy a certain database because we don't want to give access, but we're going to let people copy it. And then Rick's laughing. He knows the database, I think that we are really driving hard. And I think, one of the things, efficiency reviews, whatever you want to call them, they can have very, very, very positive effects to make us look at things in a different way. Why are we all buying the same cyber feeds? We don't have to do that. Or if the licensing agreement does have some requirements, but maybe we can not have 5 contracts to do that. So that's what
Amen.
I'm really that's what I'm really excited about there. I think my mission here and the CISA mission, like I'm super excited for the work we're doing in the FSEB, providing useful and capable services to the departments and agencies so they don't have to do it themselves. I think protective DNS is a great example of that. That we offer at CISA. Claw is another one. My teams are really working hard right now to get as much telemetry as possible. It can also relieve the departments and agencies of some of that work. If I have your logs going back forever, maybe you don't need to pay to store them so long. And we can work through things like that. Yeah, I think 3 years out is always a little hard for me because I'm a live in the moment and live in the next 90 days. But I do think that we will see cyber change a lot. How we do threat hunting, how do we shift left, and how do we really apply the MITRE ATT&CK framework to shift left more and more? Because when I'm already on the right on MITRE ATT&CK, data exfil has happened. Yeah, we are already there. But if I can move that to the left and stop the adversary before they exfil data, that can be a win, because I'm not going to stop every breach. I'm not going to stop every action. And I think changing that mentality that I think CIS is really a proponent of, disclose things early. It's okay if a breach happens because maybe you were doing everything right and the adversary's tactics just overcame our existing defenses.
And let's face it, we'd love to see a much more secure and sophisticated, secure by design environment. And perhaps we'll see that at some point in time. So listen, it's been great talking to all of you. We really do appreciate it. And I want to thank each of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd also like to thank our sponsors for supporting us on the show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every month. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.